On the look for that. Coco. Get it.
November 7th, as the black man cried. Look, blood still running from black people's eyes. But I remember when a song rise up, we can rise. And I beg black man, please open your eyes. While I was singing and fussing, me liver shrink. Black man asking me where Atlantic lay. Then they put their 14 finger on the shelf. So today, black man, you must blame yourself. But when I sing, they never listen to Coco says. Black man mentality, gun spectrum and PSA. The lyrics I sing, they wouldn't listen to me. Black man telling black man, oh black man, come out to party. I remember when I sing Sham, we don't want it. They said black brother said Coco, you sing shit. So today, said through my call, while you strike your heart. Black man, all you look for that. I wonder why black man always want that kickstart. Black man, all you look for that. A man on a charge for interfering. Black man always still go and vote for him. Black man, how I thought you could control this. You thought I might have to work in this man's office. Then imagine the sex if I had it. Yes, 12 fingers under your daughter's dress. Me and saying that Patrick should have win that. Or even Jim Baker with a feet better. All them women who went Beijing the other day. About this Mr. Way, all you have to say. Cause they need to sing all the silent and talk in peace. So the office girls must be at the mercy of the speech. He was charged, so whether it is false or true, I'm concerned because I have a daughter too. I'm talking from my heart, I tell it you. Black man, all you look for that. Why did you always want that kickstart? Black man, all you look for that. Tobago, I was really annoyed with you. But I realized all you get catch too. All you could not believe them too. When I go with Pande and give away Tobago best holiday. All them two could sit down on the wrong table and then look for the best for their own people. But all you cannot quarrel, all you cannot friend. That is where you ask for, that is where you get. We love Shadow Nelson and Alex Rose. You won't know we honestly recognize those. Quite up a great footballer with Aston Villa. We always show love and respect for that fella. But all you smile when Robbie married to Pande. I hope all you understand what Samara say. If he does marry a black man, he chop shit. Tobago, all you look for that. Mighty Mashka, Def Con and Sunny Man Star. Tobago, all you look for that. But all you cannot quarrel, all you cannot friend. That is where you ask for, that is where you get. We love Shadow Nelson and Alex Rose. You won't know we honestly recognize those. Quite up a great footballer with Aston Villa. We always show love and respect to that fella. But all you smile when Robbie married to Pande. I hope all you understand what Samara say. If he does marry a black man, he chop shit. Tobago, all you look for that. Mighty Mashka, Def Con and Sunny Man Star. Tobago. Tobago, I was really annoyed with you. But I realized all you get catch too. All you could not believe them too. When I go with Pande and give away Tobago best holiday. All them two could sit down on the wrong table and then look for the best for their own people. But all all you cannot quarrel, all you cannot friend. That is where you ask for, that is where you get. We love Shadow Nelson and Calico Rose. You all know we honestly recognize those. Quite a great footballer with Aston Villa. We always show love and respect to that fella. But all you smile when Robbie married to Bande. I hope all you understand what Satmarat say. If he does a marry a black man, he chop shit. Tobago, all you look for that. Mighty Mash Grande Son and Sunny Man Star. Tobago, all you look for that. Remember slavery on the plantation. Master used to use a black man to be black man. So when I get 17, I got a pain. I say, oh God, black man to be black man again. Black man give black man soup, but black man won't have. Black man intelligence to pressure the own black man. He give them soup, they say he treat them like an outcast. So now black man takes more care in ya. I remember it's not the hand of the African. With 2 seats first, you had the ball in your hand. I spoke to Leroy Clark and Capra Cambon. And up to now, I can't understand what's going on. You went and was sighted up in Africa. But to your black brother, you prove a traitor. If I prove a return and the shooting star. Ata, all you look for that. And if you don't, I should cross the PM path. Ata, all you look for that.
Blackman, are you look for that? If I ever come a Calypsonian, I want to be like Crow Crow. I respect all the other Calypsonians. I love them. But if ever I become a Calypsonian, I want to be a bad boy like Crow Crow. Weston Rollins, the midget. Blackman, all you look for that. I want to tell you. Satmarat said, if his daughter married a black man, he drops you flat. The story behind that calypso is when A.N.R. Robinson, Thai in Trinidad, 1717. A.N.R. Robinson had 2 seats in Tobago. And he gave Pandey the 2 seats instead of giving it to Manning. If you give David Hines and WPA 2 seats, I tell you already where it's going. Not going to the PPP. It's going to the PNC and the AFC and others on we side. I'm telling you all flat. Because I don't want no Calypsonian say, Dr. Hines, you went and you married Irfan Ali and Jack Dio. And Blackman, all you look for that. I don't want no Calypsonian say that Dr. Hines, you and the WPA is traitor to your own people. If I come back in life again, and I'm come as a Calypsonian, I want to be like Crow Crow. Talking with what in my mouth. Not talking with what. Blackman, all you wake up. I not playing wrong. I not playing wrong. I not playing wrong. I not playing wrong. My first objective is the removal of the PPP. First objective. Don't mean that I agree with all the other black leaders and everything, but we're going to talk about that when the PPP gone. We ain't talking about that. No! Close ranks. I'm not showing him to the AFC. As I tell you on this program, don't cuss Nigel Hughes. You can vex with him, but don't cuss him. Because he's an asset to us. But I'm telling you all where I stand. I ain't waiting till March 31st to decide if I collating. Are you dead by March 31st? By March 31st, the PPP come and skin millions and hear you. Black man, why black man always want to kickstart? Good evening to all of you. I not behaving bad this afternoon. Tonight, this evening, is Lincoln Lewis gonna behave bad? Me and Lincoln Lewis get me in trouble a couple of times. He tell a certain lead about testicular fortitude. The man knock off of it too. Me, Lincoln Lewis. But here's the beautiful thing. Me and Lincoln Lewis and stop supporting them, you know. After that. And that is the example I want to say to you all today. You get bad treatment, man. The coalition knock me off 2 times, you know. Bad treatment. But this is not for me. That's not about me. This is not about Lincoln. That is why Lincoln Lewis and me, we could get knocked off by the coalition and still support the coalition. Because the big picture. Many ask me, oh, you know, Aubrey not gonna cock you like, oh, give it Granger cock you. Me don't know that. Maybe Aubrey gonna cock me. But I'm saying this time around, he better come good. The point I am making is, as a coalition man, me party can't win no election on its own. Don't let me come to you all and talk and thing. Going by our own at the election is the last resort. Probably if you could form a coalition after the election, we might take the chance. You go, you get your 2 seat, 1 seat, 3 seat, and then do like you have doing 64 and form a coalition after. But our constitution does not allow for that. That's one of the mistakes Borna make. That's one of the mistakes Borna make. To ban from the constitution forming a coalition after. He probably had his reason to do it then, but he come back to bite our ass now, you know. And so since we can't form a coalition after, form the coalition before, take your chances. If you're small electorally, they're going to try to ride you. But as I say on this program, I come from a party that is small electorally. But all of them who talk about big party are finally, and them big more than me intellectually, them big more than me when it comes to bravery, them big more than me when it comes to policy. They're big more than me because the Indian people voting for them and there's a big party. But you take away that Indian vote from them, they're little compared to people like me. Me and Kio, you say me show off. If me not beat me drum, nobody no go beat them for me. Good evening to all of you and welcome to Politics 101. It's not me quarreling tonight. Lincoln Lewis going to do the abuse in half tonight. Not me. You can say, let me tell you something. Bobby Shan, you know. Let me tell you something. I'm a cause different from boxing and so on. Bobby Shan, I'm a cause. Let me tell you something. Here we're telling you. Good evening to all of you, whether you're joining us from inside of Guyana, you love joining us from outside of Guyana. Politics 101 on a Monday night. We're talking about the labor of love and the love of labor and labor and politics. Thank you very much. Let me bring in Lincoln Lewis. Lincoln.
Yes. How are you?
Promise me that you're not going to get me in trouble again.
Well, you're always in trouble, you know.
My
I
brother,
never put you in trouble. You're always in trouble.
my brother, good evening, and how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Listening to you there, and want to say good night to the viewers and all Guyanese that we are in for some challenging times, but we have to work.
We have to work, and let's get to work, Lincoln. Let me start with the budget. I am not sure whether the trade union movement had an input into the budget. Now I'm making a differentiation between quote unquote consultation and input. Right? My party has said the time has come that we must have legislation compelling the government that it must meet with the opposition, the political opposition, the trade union movement, the business community, and other civil society organizations in putting together the budget. You're not meeting with them to consult. You're meeting with them to get the input into the budget. And that when you finish preparing the budget, their input must be manifested in the budget. And then that budget must go to the National Assembly at least 2 months before the reading in Parliament for their perusal and probably for them to make other adjustments before you come and read it. So by the time you come and read it to the National Assembly, that budget already has the imprint of the political opposition, the trade union movement, the business community, and other civil society organizations. I am saying, and you are going to get a chance to dispute me, that 2 or 3 men of one race has no business telling a country like ours that is divided among various ethnicities and among various social groups how $1.382 million of our money can be spent. Your thoughts on our proposal for legal, no longer it must be left to the government. The National Assembly must pass the law compelling the government to meet and get the input of the larger society in any budget.
Let me say to you, David, that I cannot disagree with your party for going along this path of having put laws in place to treat with this matter. Article 77 of the Constitution says very clearly that the region shall prepare its budget and it shall be funded by central government. They don't do that. That in itself, since this constitution was promulgated in 1980, that clause has been there. I believe that apart from what you have said, you need to include in it elements that when the regions prepare their budgets, it must not be cut. Priorities must not be determined by central government. It is the regions who will determine their priorities, and it must be funded. I agree totally that legislation needs to be put in place to make sure that funding is being determined or priorities are being established by the regions, by the people, Central government can continue operating in a manner that when the region makes recommendation, you take the position that this region A or region 10 or region 4 is not led by people who come from, or persons who come from my party, and I will cut the budget. I will give them what I feel they should get. This money don't belong to me. I believe that legislation needs to be put in place. And not only that, legislation needs to be developed to deal with the question of the monies that come from our natural resource. I've said this before, that you can't be cutting lumber in region 1 and sell it and collect the royalty, all the royalty come to central government and none left in the region, and the region got to scrunch to get a part of it. There ought to be a percentage being put aside for the region. You can't have vehicles operating in region 10, breaking up the roads in region 10. But when you pay for the license, it comes to central government coffers. but the town of Linden or the community of Echuni or Kokwani or somewhere have to repair the roads. These monies must be left out there. And I believe it's an ample opportunity for the opposition to take legislation to the National Assembly. David, I understand your party is not in the National Assembly, but while it's not there, I believe that your party is close to the people who are who goes to Parliament. I believe that we all can urge them quietly and publicly that the legislation be developed to deal with this issue of the distribution of the resources of this country.
Lincoln Lewis, General Secretary of the Trade Union Congress, here tonight on Politics 101. And we intend to talk a little bit about the budget and then talk a little bit about the TUC's position on biometrics and the coming elections. Lincoln, you have had a chance, I'm sure, like many of us, to digest the budget, and I did say 1.3 million. I don't know how I could make such a mistake. And 983 voices here tonight say, Dr. is not million, it's trillions. Me mouth slip. Me mouth slip. We moved so much to trillion. When they used to get budget in the million was me and Lincoln time in the 80s and 90s. No, it got past billion, gone to trillion. Lincoln $1.382 trillion budget. First of all, was Labor able to make an input into the budget?
Not directly. They have not consulted with the Guyana Trade Union Congress. I don't know who you may have spoken with, but that's the way the government behaved. You know, we just came out from a grueling battle with the government over the teachers issue. They are the type of people who, when they realize that they have been battered or they lose the match, you know, like little boy playing cricket, ball belong to you and bat belong to you. When you're out and you believe that you should bat more, you take your bat and your ball and you go home. That is what the PPP is doing. They have decided they're not going to talk with us. But what is important, let me say to this nation, that we for years, the TUC for a number of years, have been demanding the return of free education from nursery to university. we have been able to get them because they took it away. It was PPP that took away free education from nursery to university. We have been able to get them to partially return free education or education that you don't have to totally pay for to the University of Guyana. And we will continue to prosecute this issue publicly until such time that there is free education. We have recognized also, we take credit for that. Because if you leave the PPP, if you leave that group of brigands there, if you leave them and don't hammer them every day, they will not do anything for the people, and they will take everything for themselves. So the free education, the education that they said that they are giving, it is because the TUC year after year has been demanding that. On the issue of housing, we recognize some of our recommendations are being used by the government, but they're not going to give us credit for that. But how we were talking about it, that's not the way they use it. They're using our ideas to really do what you call for their own politicking of seeking to a large extent getting people to put them in line like they are beggars, like they are doing something for them, and not saying to the people is that what is being done here is your money and you're entitled to it. So we have to say it again, we have not been consulted when it comes to this budget. And the reason why we conclude the reason why we were not consulted, it is because the teachers went out there and prosecuted this issue. The issue of increased salaries and working conditions, and the TUC supported their position. They decided they're going to talk to us. So that's how they do.
Brother Lincoln Lewis here tonight, and Lincoln talked about some indirect gains as far as TUC's advocacy and advocacy of others outside of the PPP. There were some things that found its way into the budget. But let's get to the hardcore concerns of labor. Labor, the first thing, is wages. Any trade unionist, any part of the world, any trade union, any part of the world, the first order of business is wages. As you peruse this budget, what's in there as far as wages and other forms of direct forms of compensation for workers? Are you satisfied?
Let me tell you something. I've had the opportunity to look at this budget, and I'll tell you what the budget did. Was basically to throw out money to some people, or to those who will maybe at the edge of the poverty line, that they can scramble for what is thrown there. There's nothing there that is specifically for wages, except the question of talking about 130,000, I believe it is, for the for police and what have you. Let me tell you something. Let me calculate this thing. A young policeman get recruited. He get a wife and a child, but that man come from Anna Regina, and he comes to Georgetown, does his training, and that man is now posted somewhere at Vigilance. He got to get a house for he and his family. He can't get no house, my brother, for less than about $80,000 a little flat, right? When he collect that $80,000. All that he get left is $50,000. You got to go to work. You got to buy food. You get a family to take care. You got your phone bill and all these things. This money, while they throw it out as a big thing, $130,000. You know when there are times when you say $130,000, man outside this country believe it's big money, you know. Yeah, I believe it's big money. But that man has some needs that have got to be met and can be met. What we pay is what we get in. This budget is not a budget for the people. It has not. You said earlier that the issue here with the trade union is wages. Yes, they want force out of business. But the wages and salaries have a correlation with cost of living. And because it has a correlation with cost of living, I'm telling you that cost of living, what they're paying, cannot impact positively the man's livelihood, the man's life in society. You know, it's not that I want to tell you, it's not that I condone what we call lawlessness and so forth. But when people walk around and they say, here's something, the police force is corrupt, the police force is a microcosm of this society. Think about it. That's what the police force is. Because if you pay them this money, the money that you're paying them can't meet their needs. I ain't said it once, you know, I tell you their needs. Can't meet their needs. You don't believe that they are going to involve in other activities to take care of the family for their own survival? Don't cost them. That's what you're saying. That the police force is a microcosm of this society, a society where you have the haves and the have-nots. The people them that they are asked to protect when the day come, who are in privileged position, they take in our resources and do what the hell they like with it. So as we talk about the budget, let me bring you back. The money that they want to take out from the Natural Resource Fund, okay? Think about it. It is our money. These people using our money in such a way that they're behaving as if it belongs to them and they're giving you a freck. It is important that we take note of these things. And the reason why, and I believe that, let me say to you that it's an act of futility as all of them continue in the National Assembly. Right? Because you can have the best speeches from the opposition. You can have the best recommendations. But while you have both of them, what you're not having is a positive response from the government side on the issues that you have raised, that are being raised there. So I want to conclude by saying that this is what we call, it's an exercise of futility in that National Assembly. I believe strongly that extra parliamentary activities were and continue and on to now, it continue to be necessary to bring this government to its senses.
And you've pivoted to extra parliamentary activity. And I'm going to come back to that because I know on behalf of the Trade Union Congress, at one of the press conferences, you made it very clear that this business of giving the government a free ride and that you call on the opposition to be more militant. And we're going to come back to that. But I want to press you a little bit on the PPP's retort to the fact that the budget does not directly offer a lot in terms of wages and meeting the cost of living. There's $900 million, I think. No, not 900, $9 billion set aside in the budget, as they say, to meet the cost of living. The vice president said that we pay attention to wages and salaries, but we don't pay attention to the other mechanisms in the budget that the government is using to help workers to meet the cost of living. He cites things like, electricity prices not going up and all the other things that are there in the budget that he says are indirect mechanisms for workers to deal with the cost of living. Are you swayed by that argument?
Let me tell you what. Nobody's asking for increasing electricity wages, in electricity charges, water rates, and all these type of things. You're not asking for that. What you're asking for is a living wage, a wage or salary that can carry yourself and your family through. There was a time when we used to talk over a basket of 5. Man, wife, and 3 children, right? Let us put it, not at 3 children. We got at 2, brother. Where are we? What are these things that can impact? Let me tell you this. You go to the public hospital and clinics. There's no the pharmaceuticals that will be prescribed. They may not have them many times they don't have them at the pharmacy there. You have to go outside and buy them. You want to do an ultrasound. You have to leave the public hospital and go to private institution for those type of things. If the health services or these services that you're talking about, if they are not there, where you're going to put that money to do what? Let us look. Let us understand. Let me give you an example or something. It was last week Thursday. I was called and said, from somebody else. He said, you know what is happening here? They are writing off the pharmaceuticals. They are purchased by friends of the government. They are relabeled. They sell them for $1 when they write them off. They are relabeled by their friends, and the friends that come back and sell it, the same product for $20. Right? I just give you some numbers that you can understand what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
All these things that you're talking about. In the budget last year, the budget before last, Critchlow Labour College was listed. There was a subvention there for the Critchlow Labour College. They never delivered it to the college.
Wow.
Right? But this here is a legal document that has been passed by the National Assembly. So having had those type of experiences, you're telling me that there are things inside there for other people, to help workers or help the citizens out of the level of poverty that they find themselves, they're not going to give you anything. That's how they operate. So I'm not fooled. What we must argue for continuously is that what comes directly to people that they can have. When this government says, look here, let me give you an example. A person called me, he says something, I get a problem. I said, what happened? He said in Region 5, they have to, you understand that they're giving AMPAs. And the people who are identified to go to the for the AMPAs are the what we call who they pursue, who they see as supporters of the party. But this is stating the evolution. And when she never went, and she never said, well, you're going to put on your name and I'm going to bring one for you. Because the neighbor is a party first. She didn't get invited. So the neighbor came and the neighbor bring a hamper for her. When she opened the hamper, there's an envelope with $200,000 Guyana dollar inside. You hear what I'm telling you? 200,000 Guyana dollar in the envelope. So she was not supposed to be there, but she get, you understand me? She friend, good neighbor collect the hamper for her. When she opened the envelope, that is what it is. It tells you how these people, all these things that they put inside there, what they're going to be doing. This is state money. That's how they're treating with it. So the examples are out there. The experiences that people have had are out there. All that they want to do is to tell you that they get a big budget. But that big budget, the small man will die before benefit from that budget. That's a problem.
Lincoln Lewis, General Secretary of the Guyana Trade Union Congress, here tonight. We're talking a range of issues. We started off by talking about the budget and what's there for workers. And as Lincoln has said here, workers don't want intangibles. They want tangible. And when you're a worker and you go out there and sell your labor, you're looking for wages and salary. You're looking for wages and salary. I endorse that position completely. Lincoln, you started to talk about militancy, what the TUC referred to as a more militant approach to this government. I want you to expand for us and to define for us what you mean by militancy, because we live in a society that when you say militancy, half of the population is supposed the government, mean you want to go and block up the country and lick down and overthrow the government. So when the TUC talks about militancy, opposition militancy, tell us, what are you talking about without getting into specifics?
Let me say to you that you cannot be going to Parliament every day, every time you're summoned to go to Parliament, and all that you're speaking, everything that you said, or every proposal that you have made is being cast aside by the government side. You are going to that National Assembly. What you're doing is giving credibility or credence to what the government is doing. The opposition has to start thinking that we're not going to go into this Parliament. We are not going to go there. We are going to spend our time crisscrossing this country, talking to people, bringing to their attention what is happening, rather than going into the National Assembly. You have the what you call the DPI, the television, the government, the state media, all that they do is to carry what the government says. The state media, which is expected to carry information about the entire situation in the country, everything that happened in the National Assembly, shuts the opposition out. You have a responsibility to the community that voted for you. Half of this country vote for the opposition. The opposition has to go there and maintain its presence among the citizens. Between the opposition and the people who voted for them and those who did not vote for them. That's the type of approaches we expect this government will take, this opposition will take, rather than allowing the government to go running roughshod around the place, lying to people, which is a normal thing, you know. It's hard to stop a certain man from doing that. I believe that it's in his DNA. He only can lie, you know. We can start there. I don't know what the opposition is afraid of. As when I talk to parliamentarians, tell, oh, it's been recorded in the answers. People can't eat answers. People want results. The answers will have it that you have boycotted the National Assembly because of the intransigence of the government, the process of digitalization that is taking place, the heist that is being committed on the resources of this country. We have to have different approaches. I'm hoping that from the TUC hopes that sometime tomorrow or Wednesday we're going to start talking with the politicians. We're going to tell them, look them in the eyes and tell them about our concern. We have to do that. We're not going to talk about it out there and don't go in the room and tell them how we see their performance. We have to fight back. The opposition has to fight back. Let me tell you something. People will ask me at times, man, what the trade union doing? Let me tell you this. Let me tell you. The weakest moment of Corbyn as leader of the opposition, he consulted with the trade union. And because he consulted with us, we see the opposition at that period, and even the period before that, that we had an ally. We had an ally in the National Assembly where together we can fight. You know why the trade union is continue to be strong in the United States? Because in the White House you had an ally. You had Biden, who was the first president that went to the picket line and hold a picket with workers. Right? We had an ally in Corbyn. Okay? Yes, we had an ally. And when Corbyn demitted office, the alliance went. So we don't have an ally. So we have to be careful how we fight. Let me tell you further, and you will know, David, that the trade union business is conducted within the parameters of laws, rules, and universal principles and practices, unlike the political party. The political party, what they can say and do, we can't do them. We need allies. We need allies. For workers to succeed in this country, we need political allies.
We need political allies.
Yeah.
Dr. Lincoln Lewis speaking out here tonight on a number of issues. Lincoln, you mentioned the state media, and I've often said on this program, and I'm glad that you're here. We have never really talked about this publicly, but you and I were involved in the state newspaper, the Guyana Chronicle, and I often said here that our intention was to move the Guyana Chronicle from a partisan newspaper to a real a state-owned newspaper managed by the government, but which caters to the broad section of the society. We took it in steps. The first step was that we wanted the state newspaper to continue to give the government coverage, but that while they're giving the government coverage in the same paper, that you have a critique of the government. And we had the task, we wrote editorials which were the statements of the people. But in the same edition of the paper, we would critique the government. And we felt that that was the first step of moving the government away, moving the paper away from a party newspaper, from a newspaper that only gives the ruling party or party's coverage. Ultimately, we wanted to move it to the point where the newspaper became a kind of BBC, where you support the government, but you also give critiques of the government and to give other institutions in the society, including the political opposition coverage. I think the people in the government at the time didn't understand what we were doing, and the rest of history, they got rid of us. And say, but I want you to speak on that vision we had of where we wanted to take that state entity.
You are right, David. We did write a number of the editorials, not only the Sundays, but during the week. But we have been able to be critical of things that the government has been doing. We have taken position against what we consider to be excesses. There were people who were very upset. I don't believe that they understood where the paper was going. I believe that the editor at the time, he never really sought to hold us back, because I believe that he had the vision of moving where these people need to move. I remember one time he said to me that, look, I would like to have some writers from the opposition writing here, right? Let me see how these people can, vary views. But while the PPP may have been comfortable with what we were doing, the government at the time was not comfortable. I always remember that morning when they sent me a basket of flowers, some local things and so on. I said, this thing, I see something coming behind this. I get it the Wednesday and the weekend after I see I was out, right? Let me say, I'm making the point about it. They were comfortable then.
Yeah.
But all they had wanted is for the government to change, for them to make it a rag, turn it around. Right?
Yeah.
When we were writing there, we never go after the PVP or supporters or leaders in the PPP. But now they turn it around, they're using the paper to go after persons who they perceive to be supporters of the opposition and cost out the opposition.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they're using our money to cost me out. That's the problem that we have.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I believe the culture, the state media, Chronicle, it's too deep in it.
Yes, and the point is, again, you know, vision is it goes a long way, you know, in the sense that we left the Chronicle as a state newspaper that supports the government and the ruling parties, and we left that in the hands of the PPP, who took it and used it 100 times worse than the previous government. And I mean, the previous government, yes, it was the Chronicle and it was support. They didn't want anything critical, but they didn't use it in such a vicious way as the PPP is using it now. And I mean, that's where our eyes were. We wanted to leave a paper that it would have been hard for the PPP to do what it is doing. You see? And while the coalition leaders may have been gentler in how they use it, this crowd, there's nothing gentle about what they do with state resources. And that is why we are saying laws. We have to have legislation in order to hold people like these who are in power. And they inherited a state media where they were bound by law to give coverage of entities other than the government. It would have been a different story.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Let me make this point to you. You are making a valid point there. There are times when people argue about the Constitution. That is the Constitution causing people to do this. If you put laws in place to all these people, then we can go to the courts and deal with them.
Yeah.
Right? We need the laws. We need the enabling legislation to make them behave in a certain way. And that is what, like, the opposition should be doing. Go with the legislation. You will want to say that they will want to vote it down. There are ways and means to skin a cat than the one that you may be aware of that currently exists. These men and women in there, they are cowards. I always say that they're cowards. If you, I don't understand how people are afraid of these people. I'm going to tell you something. They can only use state power, you know. They can only abuse state power. But if they don't have that state power and they see you coming, and they come in, they come in the opposite direction, they look for the first door to run in. Right? Don't be afraid of these people. Yeah. And you started off this program by saying something. Let me just make this point to you guys. The money that these people are spending belong to you. You don't have to grovel for it. Let me tell you this. I have looked at all, you don't have to grovel. I have looked at them, all the cash grants that they have had. They passed through my street, they share and I in your house here. And nobody ever knocked at my door. You know why they don't knock here? Because they know Lincoln Lewis living. To hell was he, but I live here. I'm going to continue to live. Don't allow people for a $2 more have you groveling, selling your pride, selling your masculinity, selling what your ancestors have bequeathed for you? Can't do it.
Can't
We
do
have,
it.
we
Can't do
have
it.
to do, we have to approach this thing differently.
Yes.
And that's the reason why I believe that the opposition need to take some strong positions.
So strong position. And talking about the opposition and strong position, we are now at the crossroads as far as elections are concerned. We have an election body that is saying biometrics can be put in place, but there is no time to put it in place. So we are not going to put it in place in the elections. We have a voters list that is almost the same number as the population. Perhaps this is the only voters list in the world like that. And we have the majority in GCOM, meaning the 3 government nominated commissioners, the chairman, and the PPP party, saying that there will be no biometrics, there'll be no clean voters list because there's not enough time to do it. The TUC has come out very strongly against it. I noticed Dr. Jeffrey pointed out something that in making the case, Jack Dew, I think, said only the AFC and the PNC are calling for biometrics. So the rest of the society had no time in biometrics, only the AFC and the PNC. And he was asking, so the TUC is a non-entity? He didn't name the WPA, but the AFC, the PNC, the WPA, and now the Trade Union Congress have said, and together we represent at least half of the nation. Yet they're saying, yes, at least, that's what I'm saying, at least, right? They are saying that's only the PPP and the PNC want this thing. You know, tell us what drove the TUC in that direction.
Let me tell you what. You know, the PPP, everything that you ever happen in this country is the PPP. They will go around the place and tell you it's the PPP causing everything possible. This issue about one man, one vote, it was Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow, the father of the trade union in the British Empire, that started the march for one man, one vote in the year 1926 at a conference that was held in the Assembly in Georgetown in legislation. That's where the conference was held, a Caribbean conference, and he started the march. It was the trade union who picked up that, who fought that. That when the PPP came to power, when the PPP was established in 1950, they joined with the trade union to argue for one man, one vote. This is what led to the 1953, the universal adult suffrage. One man, one vote was given in 1953. When that march started in 1926, Bonham was 3 years of age, and Cheddi was 5. So tell me, at this time, when we fought, we have given blood, sweat, and tears, workers' blood, sweat, and tears for one man, one vote in this country, for free and fair elections. Why do you expect us to sit at the sideline and allow a few people who have no interest in the lives of people to cause people to end up fighting each other? fighting each other physically and verbally to making charges about who won an election and who didn't win, who rigged and who didn't rig, dividing society. We will not sit down and allow that to happen. But let me tell you, these guys who are telling this nation that time is not there to do it. When Justice Claudette Singh took the office of chairman, the claim for biometric was already on her desk. It was already before GCOM. She came on 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, now it's 25. Calculate, it's approximately 7 years she's been there, right? She has a responsibility. GCOM has a responsibility to deliver free and transparent, fair and transparent elections. If for 7 years they can work to get that done, then they drop the ball. The ball has been dropped. It's a serious indictment on GCOM. They have dropped the ball. The GCOM, under the leadership of retired Justice Claudette Singh, they have dropped the ball. Don't tell us that you don't have time for it. In 1990, when the PPP was claiming that GCOM rigging election, the voters list has been padded, people voting how many times. A number of agencies, including former President, late Jimmy Carter, came here from the Carter Center, met with the opposition and the government. And this same PPP agreed that there will be legislation. They were in opposition, but they agreed that there will be legislation put in place to have a new, the establishment of a new commission. And outside of that commission, how the elections will be conducted. They were in opposition. They went to Parliament, both the PNC and the PPP. And they had what we call changes done to the laws and so forth. And the elections were put back for 2 years to give them the opportunity to correct the situation, have a new voters list and all this stuff. You were in opposition. Why, when you're in government, you want to run with a list that is almost the size of the population, and telling us that biometrics is too late for biometrics, when you know that when you were in opposition, you have been arguing for it. When you're in government and the money is there, you did nothing to have it done. I want to say to you, we're going to be talking with the politicians on the opposition side, starting this week. We got to look them in the eyes and let them know that this is not about the opposition or the government. not supporting anybody. This is supporting the truth and what is expected. Let me tell you, the last election, people run inside the hospital to attack people who they perceive to be supporters of the government. Remember the bus at Bath settlement with the school children?
Yes.
They attacked the police. The only place they didn't go on to now is inside the church, the mosque, and those places, the temple, and the cemetery. Because how people see political, how they see political power now, they would even go to kill the dead. And every time these things happen, it is the workers of this country that pay the price first. The teachers can't go to school. The public servants are afraid. They get bomb threat and all kind of thing. You get destruction of state property. It's our money. We have to move. We have to move beyond this. I observe that you talk about what the PPP position, but if you read me over the weekend, I made a point about Ralph. I responded to Ralph from Quran, who said that it's too late. And let me say it publicly here now. I know Ralph. I know his father, Boise. Boise and my father, Stephen Lewis, they were close colleagues in the trade union movement. They have fought against injustice. They have worked to put systems in place that we can evolve from being barbaric. Ralph has been the chairman of the, what do you call it? The commission that worked towards the changes of the current constitution. And he had the honor to do so. I expect from Ralph that he will be on the side of doing the things that are just and fair in this society.
The just and fair.
He will do the things that move us from where we are to a higher level.
Yes, and Lincoln, I just want to belabor that point, you know. One of my, not regrets, because I would do it again, but one of the things that pains me about our country, people like you and me, you see we color, right? In the interest of principle, we oppose a government that look like us. You didn't belong to an opposition party, but the trade union movement, when you were there as organizing secretary in the 1980s, stood up against the Burnham government and said, no, this is anti-labor, you know? And you were doing it on a matter of principle. It wasn't that you were against Burnham. It was you were pro-worker and pro-democracy and pro-justice. And that people like us, black people like us, stuck our necks out and was able to say to a government that looked like us, we love you, but you're wrong. And these Indian comrades, like Ram Karan and them, they know something is wrong. They know that we are right. But at the end of the day, they can't bring themselves to watch the PPP and say, you are wrong, you are wrong, you are wrong, you can't do this. I love you, I'm going to give you my vote, but on this matter of biometrics, you're wrong. That thing, I tell you, if nothing pains me about my country is that we African Guyanese, we stood up to our African Guyanese government when we felt that they were wrong. And these Indian comrades, they know things are wrong. They will write a column. 90% of the column is saying this thing is the right thing to do. And the next column, the next 10% of the column, they side with the PPP not doing it. Your thoughts, Lincoln?
You don't have to go very far. We experience it often. When the PPP was in power, from around 2000, every May Day, there are some unions who have their sympathies with it. They go to some place and have their rally, their May Day rally. When the government changed in 2015, in 2016, those same people joined us at the National Park. We had meetings, TUC have meetings. They join us to discuss common strategy. The moment the PPP won the election in 2020, you know, they gone right back and do the same thing they were doing before.
Yeah.
Right? They don't talk, they don't come to the TUC any longer. If you write something, they will go there to attack you. If you say something about the government, something is wrong in this society when it comes to leaders standing up for universal principles, standing up for what is just and fair in this society. Right? That's a problem we have. It happens across the board. Then it is important that one examine whether what people like me is doing, whether it's wrong or is right. I believe that what I'm doing is right. But what I believe I have to do is to treat with some people differently.
Treat with some people differently. You know, I mean, Forbes Fraser, although as cynical as it sounds, I mean, I think Forbes, your conclusion is right. They used us. They used us. And that is why I've declared on this program, do not ask me to cuss Burnham on this program. Do not ask me to cuss any African Guyanese leader. I may disagree with them, and I disagree with a lot of the African Guyanese leadership, but do not ask me to cuss them. I am not going to be used again. I grew up in the village, and I hear the saying, Watana carry me lap 2 times. Watana carry me lap. It means me not get used 2 times. So Forbes, although it's a cynical conclusion, I think it is a conclusion that has its basis in a lot of truth. Not that we set out for them to use us, but they use us. And I've always said that don't hurt me head now about Indian Guyanese votes. If the government changes tomorrow, the same Indian Guyanese who cussing me as a racist today will find me to represent them. And right now, Indian Guyanese are writing me left and center to complain that they have evidence that the PPP using ICE and giving ICE information to deport them in Queens. This morning I checked, it gone up to 23 Indo-Guyanese who are writing me to say, David, speak out on it. Now you calling me racist all the time. And now your own party Working against you, you find me. I understand that about Guyanese politics. I understand it. I understand that about people. But I can't take it with the leaders who know better. Outside of GHK Lal, where are the other Indian guys? I'm not talking about the Indians in the PNC and the AFC and the WP. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the Indians who do not belong to opposition political parties. Outside of GHK Lal and a few more, the Indian leadership outside of the opposition political parties do not speak up, do not oppose this government. Or they oppose with 5 pounds and then they defend them with 20 pounds. Lincoln Lewis, your closing thoughts.
I want to reiterate that the whole issue here is that for any elections, the issue of biometric and a new voters list must be a prerequisite. We cannot, anybody who enter in or any party that decides that they are going to get into join and give credence to any elections at this juncture, they can only be doing it for their own self purpose. Let me just take it this way. Why will you tell me all the years that this list is bloated? We need biometrics. And the government saying, and GCOM saying, that yes, it can be done, but not now. Why are we and why we will want to enter into a process that militate or a process that is stocked against you, that will not produce free, fair, and transparent election? Why you want to do that? At the end of it, you say they rigged the election, but you're going into the National Assembly. Where are you going for? You only participating here because you want duty free or something. It is about your interest, because when you go in there, you can't represent anybody. I believe that we have the citizens of this country has to start to get their leaders to rethink their position. We want, if you start wrong, you're going to end wrong. You can't be switching ship midstream. You may end up fall overboard. You start wrong, you're going to end wrong. And for you to start right, you need to have biometrics and new voters list. And I urge everyone, all the listeners, to talk to your families and talk to your friends. We need to hold hands on this occasion and demand that we have that. Demand it from your political leaders throughout, be it opposition or government. Demand that. Thank you. Good night. I'm still around.
Lincoln Lewis, General Secretary of the Trade Union Congress, here tonight, and we have been talking about the issues that animate us, and that ought to animate us, all of us Guyanese, but especially those of us who are on the receiving end. Lincoln, thank you again, my brother.
Thank you, David.
And for you, the audience, our people, I say to you all, think wisely. There's a lot at stake here. Never again must we hold power and then leave power with our people exposed. Never again must we hold the power and not use that power equitably. Never again must be hold power and not look after our support base without discriminating against others, but look after our support base. I say for what it's worth, David Hines will not be part of any government that not deal with African Guyanese issues and that discriminate against African Guyanese. If it is going to be one member of that government, you know, I'll be there defending the interests of African Guyanese. They teach me in my village, charity doesn't begin abroad. Charity begins at home. You can't love other people if you don't love your own. And if they make loving African Guyanese a crime in Guyana, I am prepared to go to jail every day. I will go to court and plead guilty and go to court. The ball is on your court, black people. The ball is in your court. It is time that you all stop viewing politics by sentiments and coldly view politics by and your own interests. Start there. Indian people don't need you all to talk for them. Indian people do not need me and Aubrey Norton to talk for them. Not now. Not now. When we have power, they will need us to talk for them then. And I promise them, I will talk for you all, but I will talk first for my people. I am not going to be part of a government that discriminates against Indians. Will never be. You can count on me for that. But I'm going to be part of a government that puts in front the interests of those who worked in this country for 200 and odd years without pay. And that the deficit, that which is owed to them, I'm going to fight in any government for them to get what is owed to them. Not by discriminating against others. I keep repeating that. But where others will not say African Guyanese or black, you know there's going to be one man in cabinet who can be saying that. It's me. And as you know, there are certain things are contagious. If nobody's in there to say it, there is not going to be the pressure on the others to say it. Black people, this is not time for sentiments. This is time for cold-blooded assessment of politics. This country, you all black people, you all need to be in government again. And if you're going to be in government, let us be very clear. The PNC may take us up to 48% or 47%. The way the rules go, we got to get 50 plus 1. We cannot afford to throw away any of our assets. And that is what I'm saying. You all have every right to be frustrated with Nigel. I would not use Nigel tactics. He has chosen those tactics. I know from my interfacing with you all that the day you all hear that the PNC, the AFC, and the WPA sign on the dotted line that we are going to this election together, the day you all hear that, our potential votes will increase astronomically. You all hear what I'm saying? I know from my interaction with you all that the day you all hear that, and I'm saying to my brother Nigel, listen to your people. Hear with the ears. I know you gotta listen to the middle class, Nigel. I know you got to listen to the external forces. And I know you got to work your tactics. I know you got a party that is not an African party or an whatever it is. I know, because I am in a party too. And I know parties operate in strange ways. But Nigel, them people on the opposition side, most of them are blackface like you and me. They want to hear March 31st. They don't want to hear March 31st. They want to hear now that the men and women that they look to be their Joshuas in this time want to hear that we put our disagreements aside for now. And sing for them, march for them, dance for them. They're going through too much in Guyana. And for us to tell them, go through more till March 31st, it's not smart politics. You can set March 31st with Aubrey. It's Aubrey. You should set a March 31st deadline for. Not for your supporters. Your supporters want like yesterday. Yesterday. And I know some of them are saying, forget about Nigel. Let me go along without that. I am urging them, Nigel, not to do that because I know better. But Nigel, you know better. Find a way. You're a smart guy. Find a way to balance the imperatives of party politics, the imperative of class politics. Find a way to balance those imperatives with the imperatives of the sufferers, as you, Nigel, would refer to them as. I heard you on what's his name last night? Rickford Burke. Excellent interview. But I didn't like when the one man said, we want a coalition. Now you tell him, well, there's something to the effect that there's only E view and you got to get the views of others. No. I think, Nigel, that man represents the majority. I think he represents the majority. I ain't against your deadline, but you can have a deadline for Aubrey, but there must be a different deadline for the sufferers. The sufferers want a deadline like January 1st, like December 31st, not March 31st. Over to you, my brother Nigel.